You're here because you want to get smart fast. Today, we're taking a deep dive into something you see on almost every website, the HTML select element. Get ready, because it's finally getting a major upgrade.
Exactly. For too long, if you wanted a dropdown that wasn't the browser's bland default, or if you dared to put anything other than plain text in the options, you were looking at complex JavaScript workarounds. It's been a real limitation.
Right. It feels like we've been stuck with the same basic dropdown for ages.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to understand how these upcoming changes will unshackle developers and lead to much better experiences for everyone using the web.
Yeah.
We've got the inside scoop on the standardization efforts and the technical details making this happen. Okay, so what's been so frustrating about the old select?
Well, the two big issues have really been styling and content. Customizing the look and feel beyond the absolute basics has been a CSS nightmare, often just impossible to get quite right across browsers.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And those option tags. Plain text only, no images, no icons, nothing really to add visual context or, richness.
I've definitely seen developers bend over backwards with JavaScript just to create custom dropdowns. So what's the solution cooking? What's changing?
The WHATWG group is on it. Their proposal is at stage 2, which, means it's gaining serious traction. And here's where it gets really interesting. There's already a working prototype in Chrome Canary.
Oh, okay.
And the HTML specification itself is being actively updated. So this isn't just some pipe dream. It's happening.
Okay, prototyping Chrome Canary, that's something folks can actually play with right now if they're adventurous. So let's talk specifics. What are the key technical shifts they're proposing?
One really fundamental change is a more flexible parser for the select element itself. So instead of strictly expecting only option and opt group as direct children,
Right, the old way.
it will allow a wider range of HTML. Think of it as opening up the possibilities for more structured content right within the select, maybe even a custom trigger button.
Interesting. So it's not just about the list of choices anymore. What else is being introduced? Any new elements?
Yes, we're getting a brand new element called selected content. Its role is actually pretty simple but powerful. It displays a copy of the selected options content right inside the select button itself.
Oh, okay. So what you see when it's closed.
Exactly. This makes customizing what you see when the dropdown is closed incredibly straightforward. And if you want even more control, there's a selected content element attribute that lets you point to a selected content element anywhere else in your HTML.
That sounds incredibly useful for more dynamic interfaces, maybe showing more than just the text. And the styling limitations. How are they tackling that major pain point?
This is, I think, a real game changer. The key CSS property is appearance dot base select. You apply this to both the select element and a new pseudo element dot picker select, and boom, you're opting out of the browser's default look.
Yeah.
And you're opting into this new world of customization. It's almost like a CSS reset, but specifically just for the select component. That allows you to directly style the popover that appears when you open the dropdown, the actual list of options. You can control its background, borders, layout, padding, all the visual aspects.
Nice.
Plus, we're also getting a picker icon for styling that little drop-down arrow, check mark for the indicator on the selected item, and the standard .open pseudo class to style the select button when the dropdown is active.
Finally, some real granular control over those fiddly bits. You mentioned richer content in the options themselves earlier. How will that actually work?
So the option element itself is getting an expanded content model. This means you'll be able to put standard HTML like span, MNG, even SVG directly inside those option tags.
Wow.
Imagine a drop-down list of countries, but with their actual flag icons right next to the name. That becomes a standard built-in feature, no JavaScript tags needed.
That's a huge leap forward for usability and just visual clarity. Fantastic. And I recall you mentioning something about using a button. How does that fit in?
Yes. You can now, optionally, put a button element as the very first child inside the select. This button effectively replaces the standard browser-drawn select trigger.
The box you click on.
Exactly. It gives you total control over its appearance and its content. Initially, it's inert, meaning it doesn't do anything on its own. It just acts as the visual trigger for the select's drop-down functionality.
That's a really clever way to handle it, offering full customization without breaking the core select behavior. How does all this new stuff integrate with, the way we build modern web apps, the ecosystem?
It actually plays really well with modern web APIs. The drop-down behavior itself leverages the popover API.
Popover, right.
Which gives you features like top-layer rendering, easy dismissal clicking outside, keyboard navigation, all that stuff. often without extra JavaScript. And the anchor positioning API helps ensure the dropdown appears exactly where you expect it, relative to the trigger button. Less JavaScript to write and maintain is generally a good thing.
Definitely. Sounds like a much more streamlined, modern approach.
Yeah.
Okay, so summing up, what are the big wins here for developers, for users?
The benefits are pretty substantial. Vastly improved visual styling possibilities, obviously. Richer information within the options for better understanding and quicker scanning. Potentially more interactive elements within dropdowns themselves, maybe hover effects. You could even build custom filtering interfaces directly within the select structure, perhaps. And crucially, because it's becoming a native browser feature, we should eventually see performance improvements, better accessibility potential if implemented carefully, and smaller overall code bundles compared to relying on heavy JavaScript libraries for custom selects.
Right, the native advantage.
Yeah.
Mostly upside then, it sounds like. But are there any potential snags or things developers need to watch out for as this rolls out?
Yeah, there are a few things. The parser changes, allowing more than just option inside select, could theoretically cause some issues on very old sites that might have invalid markup relying on the old strict parsing. That's why the Chrome canary flag is important for testing right now.
Okay, makes sense.
Accessibility definitely needs careful consideration. Just because you can style everything doesn't mean it will automatically be accessible to screen readers or keyboard users. Developers need to be mindful. Browser support will obviously be limited initially, so progressive enhancement strategies will be absolutely key for a while.
Good point.
Also, unlike the traditional select, this new version doesn't seem to have automatic width adjustment based on the selected option built in. You'd likely control that with CSS. And importantly, it won't trigger the native mobile select menus that pop up on iOS or Android. It uses the web-based pot over on all platforms.
Those are important caveats to keep in mind, especially the mobile aspect and accessibility. So to bring it all together, what's the main takeaway here from this deep dive?
I think we're witnessing a really fundamental part of web forms finally catching up with modern web design needs. This customizable select has the potential to unlock richer, more consistent, and ultimately more user-friendly experiences right across the web, built right into the platform.
It really does sound like a significant evolution, moving away from those clunky workarounds. It makes you think, with this newfound control over such a basic, ubiquitous UI element, how will this influence the future of web forms and the way we approach interface design overall? Something to ponder. Thanks for shedding light on this today.